Today I have for you 3 tips to improve your punching technique, which will increase the speed of your punch, increase the efficiency of your punch, improve the ability to defend yourself, and most likely increase your punching power. 3 simple things that will just make your punch feel so much better. So I am actually filming this episode today because I did a private with somebody. I was working on their punch, making it feel a little bit more crisp, making it feel more like a professional fighter's. And the 3 tips that I had for him were something that I could relay to everybody else. Now, not everybody in or on the channel watching this episode is going to need them, but they are important things to remember. And I feel very blessed at this moment with my experience in martial arts because I'm able to watch somebody generally look at their technique, whether it be kick, punch, knee, whatever it is, watch and go, ooh, that's the issue. That is what's wrong with this technique, and here's how we sort it out. Very often, I've had people come in to do privates and they go, oh, my right high kick or my high kicks feel terrible. And 5 minutes, I have them feeling super crisp. So if you've been struggling with your punch ability, it's very likely that one of the 3 issues we're talking about today will be the thing that helps you improve, and all of a sudden you're feeling, oh, my punches are sharp and I'm feeling confident to throw them and land in sparring. So let's dive in to point number 1. And this is thinking of the body as a whole and recognizing that it's not just the arm punching, it's the entire body. So right from the floor, my foot, which is connected to the ground, is gonna push forward. That in turn forces my hip forward. And then the last thing to remember is, yes, my shoulder should go as well. Everything moves linked together. The person I was working with today was remembering to turn the heel, lift the heel up and push through the ball of the foot. They were moving through their hip, but then they were stopping square. And what we really want to do is remember that going square is going to, number 1, decrease my punching distance, but also it's going to slow down my punch power, or decrease from that punch power, because that extra little right there is really going to be the sort of icing on the cake, if you will. So it does not matter if we're talking about a hook, an uppercut, a punch down the middle. We want to make sure that we think of our body as a chain. We start low, go to the midsection, and then go to the upper body, and we really force the shoulder forward on the punching arm instead of just going to this position here where we're square. If you can sort that out, you're going to feel so much better with your punches. But the tips do not stop there. The next thing that we're focusing on is, what is the opposite hand doing as I drive this shoulder forward? If I very simply just leave this hand and all I kind of do is force this shoulder back as this one goes forward, sure, that's good. But I can also increase the power and remind myself to push this shoulder forward by taking the opposite hand and pulling it back. And yanking that arm back is actually something that's sort of reminiscent of karate style, where we grab and we drive back as the other hand goes out. But we're not being short-sighted, I'm gonna say, in the sense of karate, where they're here and they're very rigid and they don't remember the upper body torquing through. We're getting the torque, we're protecting the head, but this hand here, even if it's already to my head, it can still just pull back that far. And that is going to help increase your punching power, but at the same time, remind you every time, especially if your hand's out here, to draw right back to the head. My arm that was punching or that was out in front becomes my pulling arm. I drive back as I go out. I get that shoulder in the lead. I drive backwards with that hand. As my punch goes out, I get that shoulder in the lead. If I can remember those body mechanics, back and forward, drive forward with the shoulder, pull back with the hand. Every time I do it, you are going to feel a noticeable difference in your punch technique, in your power, and ultimately in your defense, because this pulling back arm will drive right back to the side of the head to protect you. Once I shared this with the guy I was doing the private with today, he just sort of clicked and everything started looking that much more sharp, but not with loads of effort. just with the proper technique. And the final thing which I want to remind you of, which is so very, very important in terms of defense, but equally important as we become offensive, is getting that chin tucked in. Now, very often when people throw uppercuts, I was just working with another person tonight who was doing a private with me, and the chin was rising up, and I had to remind them, he's an older student of mine, or young student, but for a long time, so older student. I was reminding him, chin stays tucked. And then I came back and I was watching Rod Tank's most recent fight, and I went, every time he steps in, he drops his head. It doesn't matter what he throws, he pulls that chin to his chest. And that is keeping his jaw protected and giving the impact area to be up here instead of in this more vulnerable spot down lower on the face. So if we can remember not to actively pull our chin to our chest and try and stay here all the time where it kind of aggravates the neck. Remember, on the outside, we can have our head relaxed, but once we start engaging, we pull that chin in and we almost look through the eyebrows. I can see you, but I'm having to look almost upwards towards the ceiling. When we actively engage a chin tuck, we are keeping ourselves so much more safe, and you will see so many pro boxers throw their shots like that, which is going to keep them from getting knocked out, which is why they seem so darn tough. And guys like Rod Tank seem so tough. I mean, granted, yes, he is tough, but he takes many of his shots in the right area, which is going to be so much easier than taking shots up here or making the mistake of rising up that chin as you throw, as opposed to keeping the chin tucked and just focusing on that chain of body motion, as we already talked about, starting from the foot, getting the shoulder in front, pulling back with the opposite hand while keeping the chin tucked. All three of these together are going to make for mean uppercuts in particular. And this, guys, was a fast, concise episode today. Remember the chain of motion, get that shoulder in the front. Remember, the opposite hand pulls back and the chin stays tucked. If you can dial in all three of these, you should feel your punch technique increase. And as I already said, that'll help the speed, the power, just overall your defense. You're gonna be that much scarier when you start letting those hands go. If you enjoyed this episode, as brief as it was, please give the video a like. If you haven't already, join the channel, get subscribed. As always, guys, train hard. I will see you back here very soon.